Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
Proceed to your post assignment. All units proceed to your post assignment.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to a special edition of the Misfit Nation here at your lunchtime on a Monday. It is not just a great guest, it is our 600th episode. The Misfit Nation, as we end season 5, we have now hit a milestone of episode 600. So thank you for tuning in today at your lunchtime. I know you could be doing better things. There has to be something else on TV like The Price is Right or Guiding Light or whatever, General Hospital. But you're here with us and my great guest today. So thank you for that. Thank you for Jake and Steve for keeping the Tuesday crew running. every week without fail on Tuesday, and last week, Tuesday and Thursday. So thank you to them, and to you, the Misfit Nation. Thanks for always being there for us. Today, before we start, we'll pause to remember our two soldiers we lost in Syria this weekend, Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard and Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar of the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment, 2nd Brigade Combat Team, Iowa National Guard. Let's keep their peers, their family, their friends in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this tough time right before the holidays. They know there's inherent dangers when they get deployed, but no one wants this to wake up to that knock on the door. So let's keep them in your thoughts and prayers as we move forward. Right now, we're bringing in a guest. He's a warrior, a scholar, a world-class champion. He served our nation as a Navy EOD officer, surviving a devastating IED blast that left him completely blind. But it didn't stop his mission. Exactly 1 year later, he stood on the Paralympic podium with gold around his neck. Since then, he's earned 6 Paralympic gold medals, 2 silvers, broken world records, became a leadership instructor at the Naval Academy, and is now pursuing his PhD to shape future generations of warriors and leaders. Brad is the definition of grit, virtue, and relentless purpose. Please welcome the incredible Brad Snyder to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Rich, for having me. I really appreciate that. You make me sound really great. So thank you for that.
You did it all by yourself. That's your resume, not mine.
Thank you.
Like I told you, Josh recommended you come on here and be the 600th episode because of your class 06, as he always says. So thank you for agreeing, and I'm glad that we were able to make this time happen.
I'm very pleased that no one's more pleased than Josh, who's the king of the dweebing out about the numbers. Our class number, we look for those 6s all over the place, and if you're looking for those things, they tend to pop out. But we are as a class, very honored to be able to represent Naval Academy class of 2006 on your 600th episode. Congratulations on that big milestone, by the way.
Outstanding. I appreciate that. Brad, I gave the elevator pitch resume of you there. So if you don't mind, go back into your Wayback Machine and tell us a little more about Brad, from as far back as you want to go to how we got to where we are today.
Thank you. And yeah, I appreciate that. When you read things out like that, it sounds like a nice elevator pitch, but I never really, and at no point did I really ever have a charted path towards any of those things. They've all kind of just, I've kind of landed in the right place at the right time, a lot of cases. But going all the way back to the beginning, I wanted to join the Navy even before the towers came down, because 3 out of 4 of my grandparents were all in the Navy. And I grew up looking at pictures of them on the wall, in their uniforms on their ships, and learning their stories. My grandfather served in the Battle of Midway. He was really badly injured when they were trying to move a plane, and it landed on him. And he spent 4 years in the hospital recovering from that accident. And all 4 of those years he spent hitting on his nurse, who told him to go away for a long time, but eventually got worn down. And that was my grandma. So, I grew up listening to those Greatest Generation stories and felt like, that was my calling. When the towers came down, it just felt like, everything is, that this was our generation's time. And so I went to the academy, joined the EOD community, and all along the way, I really just, I appreciate what you said about trying to represent virtue and resilience and those sorts of things. And I feel like that's, if anything, those are the values I try to hold dear in any decision I'm making about what I'm doing or endeavoring to do or challenging myself to do or whatever else. And so, in joining the military at a time like we did, all of us have faced significant challenges associated with that. In 2011, my job as an EOD officer was actually to keep our assault team free of those IEDs. I missed one, stepped on one, and paid the price for that. But in the aftermath, I was faced with a challenge. You can wallow in self-pity and feel bad for yourself because you got hurt and there's now a big part of you missing, or you can keep charging. And I felt like what our community lives by, our mantras, our values, our virtues, is always to keep charging. So I felt like to represent us and to do what everyone would expect me to do in that situation would be to keep charging. And if I'm honest, I got very lucky that Paralympics was there, that opportunity really more or less fell in my lap. I was a good athlete. I competed at Navy. I was in good shape when I got hurt. So when someone told me I was lucky to be injured in a Paralympic year, I saw that as an opportunity, and that's kind of been all she wrote. That inflection point was really um, consequential in my life. It set me on a new path, and I'm still reaping the benefits of that. I have a really rich life, full of really cool opportunities every day, and a lot of it had to do with that critical inflection point in my life.
Outstanding. I mean, like you said earlier, things just fall into place for you. For your granddad and your grandma in the hospital. That's an outstanding story about it. I was trying not to laugh as you were saying it because it was amazing. And that just goes back to their time. And that's how people were
Yeah,
back then. So yes, that's an amazing
100%.
true life story of that back then. And then, of course, when you got wounded and everything kind of falling in place to go to the Paralympics, I mean, no one wanted you to get wounded, but when you did, you grabbed that torch and you ran forward to show others that, hey, just because you get wounded doesn't mean you're done and you can
Yeah,
charge forward. And I think that's amazing.
thanks, brother. And you opened the podcast by taking a moment for those we lost in Syria. And unfortunately, we've been through that too many times, right? We all have brothers and sisters who didn't make it back. And I felt like in the hospital room, like not a moment of me can go to the self-pity because I still have a lot left. And I've always felt an obligation to my friends who didn't make it back to do everything I can to make the most of everything I've got left, and eventually I won't be competitive in the Paralympics, but so long as I am, I want to keep making the most of all of that stuff, in honor of those folks who didn't make it back.
Definitely. And I think when we had our phone call a couple weeks ago, we were talking, you were hanging Christmas lights. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, hold on a second. How's he doing this? How's he know what
yeah,
someone has to be telling him he's doing it right or wrong. But I mean, that's awesome that you're able to do that still.
yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, there's certain things I've held on to, like I think at the beginning I was very obstinate and very stubborn, which is very close to my nature about what I could and couldn't do. And I didn't out of the hospital, I didn't want any there was I didn't want blindness to ever be an excuse that I can't do something. Like maybe I'll paint a picture, do sculpture, have a family, travel, get tattoos, like whatever the thing is. Blindness is not the reason I'm not going to do something. And I've kind of beat my head against the wall on that. And 14 years in, I have learned that there are things that I shouldn't be doing. So as an example, when I do Christmas lights, I do them only around half of my house because my house is on a hill,
Oh, wow.
and I'd have to get a suspension ladder out on this other side of the house to get lights up there. And I honestly thought about it in the first year, and then the responsible Brad was like, "You really shouldn't be up on a suspension ladder when you can't see what you're doing." So I just put it on half the house, and that way I can say, "Listen, blindness isn't an obstacle, but I'm also pragmatic, and they're only on half of the house." You know what I mean?
So you're still reasonable with yourself, with what you can and
Yeah,
can't do. And
exactly.
sometimes as men, we have this hard
Yes.
head to get up here, and it's hard for us to say no, we can't do something. But knowing that
Yeah.
having to get a cherry picker basically to pick your lights up would
Yeah.
not be safe for anyone
No,
involved.
not safe, not reasonable. And the younger version of me was a lot more young and dumb, and I would take a lot of those risks. I've got a family now, and for everyone with families, I feel like once you've got kids, you start to look at that risk tolerance a lot differently. Like, yeah, my pride and my ego are definitely not worth compromising my ability to be a good dad. You know what I mean? So I'll take those risks a little bit more seriously now.
It's much better to have you with them every day and let them to laugh at
Exactly.
you for other things other than falling off a cherry picker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's that's awesome. Jake, who's he's our Tuesday crew host. He's also EOD as well. He was the EOD instructor down at Eglin, and now
Oh, nice.
me and him train soldiers on Fort Campbell now. And
I see.
he keeps cheering you on in the audience here. He said treat everything like Area 8 ID test. So
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are my fondest memories. But down at Eglin in Destin, Florida. I was very young, just coming right out of college and taking on this really serious and complicated, but yet very fun task with some really incredible people. The EOD community across all services is a group of equally crazy and virtuous folks. So it was a really fun group to be around, and definitely pushes you. And the one thing I liked about EOD school is that, that zero failure mentality. Like everything's very intense, whether it's hand grenades, landmines, IEDs, Area 8, everything. There is no margin for failure when you're dealing with bombs. And I like those high stakes.
It's either 100% success or 100% failure.
Exactly.
There's no gray
Yeah.
area for you.
No, what you just said, I think that mantra is like painted up on the wall in the cafeteria at Eglin, if I'm not mistaken. Ask Jake, he'll know.
Oh, he'll chime in here with there in a second. Jake, let us know if that's still painted on the wall there, or if you have it painted on your back somewhere. So he usually watches Hurt Locker at lunch because that's his favorite movie. But
He's yeah. He really just likes Jeremy Renner. That's the only reason he likes that movie.
that's what he says too. Maybe 0.01% of that movie is true. Everything else is fabricated. But yeah, that's how we rub each other. I'm a chemical guy. He's EOD, so we have to rip back and forth.
Got it.
So when you had your choice, was EOD your top choice, or did you have any other choices in the way?
Yeah, it became my top choice, but wasn't always. First, when I got to the Naval Academy, pretty much immediately they start yelling at you about a variety of things. And one of the things they start asking you is, what do you want to service select? At first, I didn't know what that meant. And then when I came to understand what it meant, is do you want to go, what do you want to do in the Navy? You want to fly an airplane? You want to be on a submarine? You want to be on a ship? What? And I remember kind of balking at that question at first because I had joined the military figuring that they would just tell me what they want me to do. The fact that I got a choice, I didn't. I was just surprised, So I spent a long time trying to figure out what do I want to do. I kind of knew that I didn't want to be a pilot. My roommate at the time, I think, was a very, very, he had said, I've wanted to fly since I was 3 years old. I didn't have that kind of passion for it. It's like, well, yeah, it'd be neat, maybe, but maybe not. I didn't necessarily want to be on a submarine. I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I spent a lot of time at the Naval Academy sort of looking around, like, who's my tribe? Like, what kind of people are my people? What am I uniquely good at? I was on the swim team. I'm from Florida. I'm really good in the water. I felt like water competency is something that's one of my strengths. What's what career field would take me into the water? And back then, after our freshman year, we used to be able to go to dive school as one of our call them midshipman cruises. They're like midshipman summer camps. So I got to go to like dive school summer camp in the Navy and became legitimately military dive qualified. And that was awesome. I loved it. And so I came back to the Naval Academy and said, I want to be a diver. And they said, you can't commission as a diver out of the Naval Academy. You can do one of two things. You can go into the SEAL community, NSW, or you can pursue a career in EOD, special operations. I didn't know what EOD was. And in fact, most people didn't back then. And in fact, if it weren't for that Hurt Locker movie, even fewer people would even have any idea what the community is all about. So not knowing what EOD was, I convinced myself that I wanted to be a SEAL and ran around for about 3 years at the Naval Academy telling everyone I wanted to be a SEAL. And I did all of the dumb stuff you do when you think you want to be a Navy SEAL, running around with logs on your head and all that kind of crap. After my junior year, I had to choose those summer camps again. I said, I want to go to SEAL summer camp and I want to go to EOD summer camp. They said, we don't have budgeting for both. You have to do one or the other. And I was like, well, crap. And I'm really interested in both. And at that point, everyone knows everything there is to know about Navy SEALs, right? As secretive as they like to think they are, everyone knows everything about SEAL stuff, right? There's documentaries and movies and books and all that kind of stuff. So I had a pretty good idea of what is a Navy SEAL and what is BUDS like and all that stuff. I had no idea about the EOD community. And so I said, I owe it to myself to explore this. And so I went out to San Diego and for my midshipman camp, and it was incredible. On day one, I got to do the dolphin program. Not many people know, but we have dolphins. Like we use dolphins to help us find mine shapes at the bottom of the ocean. I didn't know that, but I got to go out into the ocean with a dolphin and find mine shapes. And then I went to a demo range. I got to do demo, and then I got to go learn how to drive robots to take bombs apart. Then I went to a jump range where EOD folks and SEALs were jumping out of Navy. They're not Blackhawks, they're Seahawks. The gray Navy 60s. I watched them jump out and land like they do at football games. And by day 5, I was like, man, this career field is incredible. The fact that you get to do all these things. And oh, by the way, I loved the mission. For me, I'm probably more pacifistic than your average military Joe. I'm not really looking to shoot anyone in the face. I certainly will if our mission dictates that that's what we need to do, but that's not my first instinct. And the fact that the EOD community's mission is to remove explosive hazards wherever they might be, I really like that idea. I'm making the world a better place, regardless of what that explosive hazard is, whether it was put there by bad guys or if it's a bomb that comes undone on the bottom of an aircraft, on an aircraft carrier. Like, I'm there to solve these really complex problems. And I love that mission set. So it's a long way of answering your question. For a long time, I thought I wanted to be a Navy SEAL and then kind of pivoted around my junior year of the Naval Academy.
Nice. You still get to have good hair in EOD, so that's good anyway. So
We
good
have better hair than SEALs for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
They all start going bald after having the boat on their head too long. So that's why we have gray hair.
It's that rub spot. Yeah, the rub
That's
spot.
that rub spot.
Jake said it's an initial success or total failure, and yes, it's written everywhere down there. He said.
That's right. That's right.
And we do have a question from the audience that's popped in as well. I think you kind of answered this already, but this is from @PatriotJoe37.
Hey, Patriot Joe.
Brad, after the explosion that changed your life, what was the turning point where you decided to pursue competitive athletics again? Thank you, Patriot Joe.
Thanks, Patriot Joe. It was not my first idea. I knew that I wanted to like kind of break out of that box. Early in the hospital, it took a little while to figure out that I was blind. That took about a week. And it took about that long also to figure out that that blindness wasn't going to go anywhere, that they're not going to be able to fix it. But once that news set in, everybody around was very supportive, but very sad. Like, oh my God, you're blind. And oh my God, this is going to be awful. And there's this lady in there telling me I need to go on Social Security disability. And at the time I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep working. Like, I don't need to be on any benefit. I'm fine. And so I kind of really quickly became immersed in this disability thing. I'm disabled now, and there's big questions as to whether I'll be able to do anything, let alone something. And I wanted to bust out of that as quickly as possible. So I was really grasping for opportunities to just break out of that. That was my number one motivation. I don't want pity. I don't want to benefit. I want to find my new thing, and I want to get settled in that new thing. I really kind of thought at first that was go to business school and figure out how to do Excel sheets and PowerPoints and all that stuff blind. So when someone called me up and said, A, do you realize how lucky you are to be injured in a Paralympic year? And B, we have a bunch of grants to get you involved in sports. I kind of looked at that like, I don't need an extracurricular activity. I need a job, that kind of thing. So I wasn't my initial instinct actually was to push that off, but the guy, his name was Rich Cardillo. He worked at the Association of Blind Athletes. He made the case of, if you're even at all interested in this, you need to do it now, because the Paralympics are coming up and there's all these moments in time. You need to be certified by a particular moment in time and qualified by another moment in time if you want to be in it at all. And so that was kind of the driving logic. All right, I do, this is an opportunity, I want to take advantage of it. And it kind of, like we said at the beginning, like it kind of fell into place. Right after the first race, I was already in kind of the world rankings and thought, whoa, if I take this seriously and I really train, and if I can become something close to what I used to be, I may be able to not only go but win. And so once that idea took hold, that was the motivation. So first, I just wanted to break out of that box. Secondly, realized there was an opportunity in front of me, and then the third was make the most of that opportunity.
Wow.
Thanks, Patriot Joe.
That's an outstanding answer, Patriot Joe. Hope that answers your question. I was reading your bio, and you transitioned. You went to swimming first, and then, swimming's one thing, but triathlete's a whole other monster. How was that?
It was a lot of things all at once, and it was quite a journey.
Yeah.
I think that the pivot happened right after Rio. I competed in London, and then the storyline after from London to Rio, everything happened so fast after my injury that if I was like a Sports Illustrated reader guy, as I am, and I read some story about this dude named Brad, and he won a gold medal after going to Afghanistan and all that, I'd have been like, yeah, sure. A broken watch is right twice a day, right? Like, maybe things just happened his way. Maybe it was just maybe the field was really weak that year, or maybe it was fluke, like whatever. Like, crazy things happen. I really wanted to prove that it wasn't a fluke. Like, I could do it again. I wanted to go back, and I felt like I needed to earn my way back in. Like, maybe it just kind of happened to me, but I wanted to earn my way back and show that I have what it takes to stay atop of the podium for one more quad. So I went to Rio and I had a really great games. Won 3 golds, broke a world record, felt like I was in the best shape of my life. After the games, immediately after every Paralympic games, there's someone there saying, "Well, you're going to compete in the next one. You're going to compete in the next one." And when someone asked me that, like my honest gut was like, I don't know. Like I don't. The idea of going back and forth in a pool again for another 4 years didn't really captivate me. Not the way that it had after London or as it had earlier in my career. I often talk about, growth mindset and needing a new challenge to push yourself beyond what you think you're capable of doing. Well, after Rio, I felt like I was pretty darn close to the boundary of my capability. Like, I don't think I'm going to go ever in my life much faster than 56.15 in the 100. Maybe there's some thousands to gain. Like, maybe I could go 56.09 if I spend another decade training and nutritioning and lifting and all these other things. But the margin of improvement was so low in swimming, and the amount of work I would have to do to shave those hundredths off didn't really captivate me. Going back to the bottom and starting a new challenge in a new sport seemed really exciting to me. So that was the easy pivot. Turns out there was a Naval Academy graduate, Mark Sortino, who was the head coach of the para triathlon team, who I networked to and brought me into a camp. I loved the team. I loved the challenge. It was just a real easy transition over to triathlon. So I started racing, just loved everything about it. Loved going fast. I loved being out of the water for the part where the race starts to materialize. The stakes were higher. You have to race on a circuit, man, and you go into all kinds of cool places like Lake Geneva in Switzerland, and then over to Banyoles, Spain, and then fly over to Yokohama, Japan. And like the racing was just awesome. But then COVID happened. And right as I was starting to hit my stride as a racer, we shut down for, a year and a half or so. And then when we were coming out of that, the whole point of that was to go to Tokyo. For a minute, Tokyo wasn't even going to happen. And then it was going to happen a year later, but then there weren't going to be any spectators. And then that just became a whole thing. But I stuck with it, was able to kind of keep going. We had an amazing camp in Kona. We got to Tokyo and we were definitely doing the spit and tubes thing every couple days. But that race just turned out to be every bit as amazing as I could have hoped for. We were the 8th seed or so. We were not favored to win. In fact, there was some doubt amongst my other blind colleagues as to why we were the America's nomination to go, because there was another American racer who we barely beat out in the trials triathlon to go in the first place. But we knew we had done all of our dry erase board and we knew all of our stats from practice and all that sort of stuff, that if things go right, not only do we have a chance to be in the thick of a heavy race at the end, but we might be able to win. The water's really warm. That means a no wetsuit race. It was a tight course. If we could get out of the water ahead of people, it might really be our advantage on the bike. And then if we can just hold with this run and know that our heat training is better than everyone else's, we might have a chance to win this. And that's exactly how it panned out. We jumped out ahead in the water. We were way ahead on the bike. We had about a minute on the field going into the run, and we were able to almost just cruise that run, and no one was able to catch us. And it was epically cool to come across the finish line gold. So um, amazing journey to go to another sport. It was very humbling. I kind of walked into it thinking if I've been good at one sport, I could be good at two. And that wasn't the way it manifested for a while. But then to kind of climb back up and win again was just epically cool.
That's outstanding and a great story of the journey. It's not like, oh, I want to do triathlon. Let's do it today and go.
Yeah.
It's not a fun sport. It's a lot of work on all three disciplines. And most people think it's always just all you do is swim, you bike, and you run. Everyone does that, but no one does it all at the same time or right in a row. It takes a lot of effort for even a person with 100% health. It takes a lot of effort. For you not be able to see, had to have a guide on each event. I'm guessing, obviously, each leg. Was it the same guide, or do you have a different one on each leg?
Same guide. Same guide has to race the whole time. We're basically never more than 2 feet apart the whole race. I got really lucky. Greg Billington, who was on the Olympic team in 2016 in Rio, was willing to come back and go for another go with us in the triathlon in Tokyo, and it was awesome. Greg's a freak of an athlete, and got very lucky to have him dragging me through the whole race.
That's outstanding. Josh just chimed in saying, "Let's go!" Typical Josh. Thank you, Josh. Got another question on here. This is from Melissa Forces Ree. I think that's what it says. Melissa Forces Ree, you won gold exactly 1 year after losing your sight. How did you mentally prepare for that moment?
I don't think by that stage of the game, I was 27. I had been in the EOD community for 6 or 7 years. I think by that point, I had established the same kind of habits that enable us to do well in bomb disposal and in combat are exactly the same kinds of things you do at the Paralympics. Jake will take you through this. We do threat assessment in the EOD community. When you're dealing with an explosive in a high stakes situation, you can only do one thing at a time. You can't do everything. If you start to think about all the variables at play in a scenario, you get that paralysis analysis sort of situation where you can't make any kind of decision because you're thinking about too many variables at a time. So you have to distill things down to a manageable, this thing is the thing I need to worry about first, this bomb, and it's got this kind of triggering system, so I need to focus on this. Once I get the main charge and the fusing system separated, then I can start to worry about the context, move the main charge away. Oh, by the way, maybe we need to engage the enemy here or whatever else. You can just only take things off in small bites. You have to figure out a way to, that stoic affirmation, can control what you can control and learn to let go of the things that you can't. Elite performance at something like the Paralympics is almost identical. There's a lot going on. There's a village, and you're in this crazy place, and there's big jumbotrons and a lot of people and a loud crowd and high expectations, and you're not really in your element. But before you is a task that your job is to dive off the pool, swim 8 lengths of the pool as fast as you can, crash as little as possible, maintain momentum, maintain your stroke, maintain or fight off fatigue, and be resilient in the back end of that race and just come into the wall. That it's a relatively simple task. The things that derail people are the the other things. And so by 27, I was pretty practiced at control what you can control, let go what you can't. And exactly what my self-talk was. Just focus on what's right in front of me. Take all that energy from the crowd, visualize it's in a little orb right in front of me, and take that energy as I need it. Don't allow the energy to control me. I'm in control of this moment right now. And that worked. And, that visualization worked. I was able to dive in. I was very present during the whole race. Um, and it worked out great. It actually worked out better than I could have imagined. So all of those things, all of our preparation along the way at EOD school, jump school, all these other schools, they do add up to your capacity to navigate austere and adverse situations.
Outstanding, Melissa. I hope that answers that question. I think it answered it for me, obviously, because I'm listening.
Thanks, Melissa.
Jake just jumped in with a question too for you on the triathlon area. Do your bicycles have to be geared differently to allow for the extra weight being tandem, or do you just have to work harder to pedal the extra weight?
It's more the latter. I think the gearing ratios are similar to a normal single bike. I think we do put up some smaller gears on the back because we are putting in more power. So to take advantage of that, you do a little bit of a smaller gearing, but it's all the same kinds of parts. Um, there's like pros and cons though. The pros is on flat, you're going super fast because you're double strong. The added weight really only plays in acceleration and in hills. So it takes us a little longer to get up to speed. And if you hit a hill, then us relative to single riders, we're going to start to, it's like a semi truck, like just on the freeway. Anytime you see a semi truck, once they're up to speed, they're going to mow. But once they hit a hill, they're going to start to slow down. Tandem bikes are the same. So the gearing is the same, but we ride just a little bit differently. But ask any single rider who's ever drafted off a tandem, that draft is really nice because we're double big. So you can sit right behind us and just get towed along.
It's like sitting behind an 18-wheeler on the highway.
Yeah, exactly. Just suck right in. Yep.
So that's not cheating on the highway. It's what you're supposed to do.
Fuel efficiency. It's making the world a better place.
That's right. Saves gas and
saves gas.
And now, as you're back at the academy, you're teaching, instructing leadership, and you're a fellow with the Stockdale Center for Ethical Leadership. How do you feel doing that now, giving back to your university, basically going back to where it all started for you and giving back and pursuing your PhD now as well?
Yeah. I think that I think for all of us coming out of the global war on terror, however you feel about it, there's all of us have just kind of this unique set of experiences, right? In and out of that environment, in and out of those particular endeavors and those operations, and we've all made some sacrifices. We've all lost some friends. I feel all of us feel in our hearts like we want to make something of it, right? Like, what's the good of all of that if we can't make the good on that? And I think that's what I'm trying to do very much with passing it on to the next generation. What have I learned through all of this weird set of experiences? And how can I distill that into some kind of valuable lessons or guidance for those who are about to do the same thing? We didn't know what the future would hold when we graduated in 2006. And then we went out and we found ourselves in bizarre situations in adversity, and we had to kind of figure it out. And if there's any way I can empower the next generation to do that and succeed like I have, then I feel an obligation to do that. And working with the brigade of midshipmen is a really unique group of people. They're very um, inclined towards virtue. They're inclined towards service. They're inclined to honoring legacy and all the things that really resonate with us, having been through a lot of that. That they're all sponges for that sort of thing. So they listen to me the way no one else does. If I was to go give just a regular keynote address to Ohio State or something like that, it's not going to be received the same as it would be if I did a keynote at the Naval Academy. And I know that and I'm aware of that. So I'm looking to deliver value where I can best deliver value, and I'm also looking to make the most of the experiences that I have. And I think the midshipmen are really excited to take that on, and they know that they're taking that on to empower their journeys too. And I'm really just honored to have a part in their journey.
Definitely, you get to see the next generation go out and lead our Navy to victory and success after the Navy as well. And
100%.
you're a little
Yeah,
bit,
just like we did on the football field this weekend.
yeah, exactly. I didn't want to bring it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Go Navy.
I let you have that one.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't come off the ropes with it at the beginning. I just waited for the moment. That was the right moment, I think.
I just threw the softball up for you. You hit it. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
As them on last BC retired Navy. With veterans and letting them know about the Army Navy, and me being Army, you being Navy. It's still that same hoorah camaraderie, but when my brother and his buddy would do that to me everywhere in the world when Navy won, and 14 years, we lost every game. So
Yeah.
I got a lot of messages from them. But when the Army won that game, I tried to get in contact with them and I couldn't. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. But that's what makes that game so special. It's just such a special game. It goes back and forth, and the fact that it doesn't matter what their records are going in. It's always such a good game. A 1-point game, boy, that was an epically great game, and I'm so proud of both sides of the ball playing the way they do. It's awesome, and it gives us all pride, no matter which end we end up on. You know what I mean?
Last year I got to cover it. I was in the press corps last year. I sat in the press box, so I got to see it from a different angle than I ever did
Oh
before.
man,
And absorbing that, the energy in the stadium is amazing from both sides, and it's just the whole game. It doesn't stop. The energy is
no,
amazing the whole game, from the battle of the bands outside all the way through. And I think it's like the Super Bowl for Army Navy. That's the Super Bowl, and it doesn't matter like you said, like what the records are. It doesn't matter. That day is what
yeah,
matters, and the rest of this year.
yeah. The radio broadcast, when the head ref came out to do the coin toss, they were saying like, there's no more pressure on a head ref ever than coming out to get that coin toss right. Because the president was there this time. They're
Yeah,
like, this is even harder than the Super Bowl. And yeah, it's even harder than the Super Bowl. You don't have the president breathing down your neck at the Super Bowl. It's just a normal coin toss at that point. So yeah, I agree. Like it is definitely a big moment. And honestly, I'm proud of our country for holding fast to that tradition. With everything that's changed in collegiate sport, everything that's changed with the landscape and all these athletes getting $3 million to be 19 years old playing college football and all that stuff, it's changing the sport. But the first Saturday in December, always the whole country pauses to watch Army Navy, and I'm proud of us for that. That's a good move, and I think that's awesome. You know what I mean?
And I think it actually brings us closer together. No matter how you feel about it
Yes.
brings you closer together. You can break bread, you can drink a beer, you can do whatever you're doing on that day of the game and
Yep.
still have a great time because someone has to lose no matter what game you're watching. But
Exactly.
we all win by watching it together.
Yeah. The record's like essentially 50-50. It goes back and forth. That 14-year thing was an anomaly. It's going to be back and forth, and everyone's got to taste the victory and everyone's got to taste defeat, and you manage it. That's what it's all about. You said it earlier. It's like it's about the journey, man. It's about the fact that we do it. It's about the fact that we play. It's about the fact that we play hard. But once it's over, we're back to being brothers.
Exactly. We still have that same job to do, point forward, be the best.
Exactly.
And that's what we do. Another question came in while me and you were rambling about football there. This is from at Mercury Retro Days, I guess, retrograde. How has your understanding of leadership evolved through military service, recovery, and elite athletics? Thank you, Mercury Retro Days.
Thanks, Mercury. I think, when you're young, you think of leadership as just like this skill that you need to have to do a good job, whether that's in the military, whether that's in corporate America. It's like this thing, like you can read some books on leadership and you develop this skill, and some have it, some don't. And to be good at your job though, and to work your way up the corporate ladder, so to say, you need to figure out this skill, leadership. When I was in the Navy, especially when my buddy Tyler died, Tyler was my friend through EOD school. He got killed in Iraq in 2009. Once he passed away, it became really clear to me that the stakes of this job were real. I think we forget about that when we're young. We want to do the cool stuff. We want to jump out of aircraft. We want to shoot. We want to blow things up because it's cool. But you forget that the reason it's cool is because it's high stakes, because it's dangerous, and it's because people can lose their lives doing it. And you kind of are aware of that at the beginning, but not you don't like absorb that. I don't think. At least I didn't. When Tyler died, like my world shifted and I became aware of the idea, or start I understood my role as a leader. Leadership wasn't just the skill I needed to master, but yet it was an obligation. As a platoon officer in charge, my job was to train and equip my platoon to the maximum level possible so that they come home alive, not to do a good job. That's great, we need to do a good job, but doing a good job in our line of work is come home alive. And so leadership went from a skill to an obligation. And then I think as I've aged, I've just really, I think this was my intuition all along, but I've just seen it over and over and over again to where I know that leadership is empathy. Leadership is caring for people. Leadership is heart and it's love. It's not a skill. It's not ordering people around. It's not directing people. It's not bossing people. It's not manipulating people. It's not altering information in a way that causes them to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do. It's literally just loving people and guiding them towards a shared mission and better outcomes for all. All leadership, in my view, comes down to, do you give a crap? And if you do, that's the basis of any kind of teamwork. No functioning team can work well if they don't believe that everyone else has their best interest in mind. And as a leader, your job is to cultivate that shared appreciation, that shared love for each other. I think the organizations that are able to do that do really well. Organizations that can't do that, aren't going to succeed. Maybe they function, but they're not going to succeed. I think those are the kind of like the three steps of the evolution of leadership in my mind. It is, in some ways, a skill that you have to work on, and you can read and you can develop, and you can get better at. But it is, in a way, an obligation for those appointed over others in various organizations. You have a responsibility to make sure that everyone who looks up to you is well cared for. And then that's the third part, is just making sure that you actually legitimately care for people. And if you do that, your organization will succeed.
Definitely. And that empathy piece is something that a lot of people say I don't have any empathy, especially earlier in my career. They say I definitely had empathy back then. And it kind of switched when about 2010-11 when I went to Afghanistan. I kind of started understanding what that really meant and not really using the word, but knowing to care for people and
Yeah.
understand what they're going through. I didn't really hear the word till later, until after I got out.
Yeah.
And now even Jake in the office, yeah, empathy. Yeah, sure, empathy. And he's probably falling at his desk right now thinking that, but it's something that all leaders need to have part of their toolbox: sympathy, empathy, It doesn't make
Yeah,
you weak to be empathetic. It makes you a stronger leader to know your people
100%.
and know their strengths and know how to make them be part of the team and not just feel like an outsider.
Exactly. 100%. Very well said.
Another question came in. This is from Elizabeth Hurley, 92. What do
The Elizabeth Early?
I don't know. That's why I said D. I didn't say D. I just said D. What do you tell future What do you tell future naval officers about handling adversity and remaining grounded in virtue? Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, very much. I'm a huge fan, by the way. I think that those two things are inseparable. I think um, it, like going back to that adage, like control what you can control and let go what you can't. Um, you're not ever really gonna, when you talk about preparation, I'll use the metaphor of like getting ready for a ruck in Afghanistan or whatever. Like, what are you going to bring? What do you think that you need? Well, I know that I'm going to need food and water, but then like, what kind of mission are we going to be doing? What are we going to encounter when we're out there on a ruck, on a patrol or whatever? You never actually know. So you sort of bring whatever you think you're going to need, and you bring some supplies or whatever, but at the end of the day you're just going to have to like figure it out. You're going to have to solve for a lot of different problems, but what you can all the time bring is your virtues, your courage, your dedication, your hard work, your effort, your resilience, your grit, all these other things. So that's what I've always focused on developing. You can't really predict what the future is going to bring, but to be ready for anything, you can bring those virtues, and those virtues are going to guide you to be successful no matter what. One of my mentors early in the Navy, his mantra was like, do right and fear no man. And what I always interpreted that to mean was like, if you always work your hardest to do what you know to be the right thing to do at any given moment of time, you will never have any regrets. You'll still make mistakes because, we don't always know perfectly what the right thing to do is, but if you're acting in good faith to do what you believe to be the right thing, you'll never regret it. You'll just come to learn sometimes. Oh, I should have thought this, and I'm going to correct this moving forward. But it's not like I would have done any differently given any different information. So I think, like, for me, abiding by virtues, developing virtues, and holding fast to those virtues and values is like a bomb-proof way of living. You never you're always acting in good faith off of developed virtues. You're never going to look back and say, I wish I would have, or I wish I could have, or whatever else. You're always kind of making the best possible decisions you can, and then controlling what you can control and let go of what you can't. I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I think I've come to find that virtues based anything, virtues based endeavors, virtues based leadership, virtues based athletics, they always lead me to the right place, or at least a place I'm proud of. Whether if I lose at the Army Navy game, but I played my heart out and I did everything I could and I prepared as much as I possibly could and I followed the rules and I was a good sportsman, but I still lost, I'm proud of that. If I lose because I was a dickhead and we got too many penalties, or because I didn't prepare, or because I stayed up all late last night partying or whatever else, then that's something I regret. You know what I mean? But if I go in and I play my heart out and I still lose, then I'm still proud of that. So I think that virtues based um, endeavors is the way to be bomb proof about that approach and to always be proud of where you land. Does it make sense?
That makes 100% sense right there. And I like you said earlier about control the controllables. And if you're not controlling that, you can't worry about the other things. Control what you can control right in front of you. And that's where a lot of us, a lot of people in our country now, they get in the weeds because they're getting angry over things they can't control.
Right.
You control what happens in your house. You control what happens in that mirror in front of you. If you're
Right.
doing things right by that person in the mirror in front of you, then by God, you're doing things right. If you can spread that to your community, outstanding. If you can't control what's happening at 1600 or whatever your capital is in your state, do what you can in your community to make it better and then worry about that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Yeah. And you only have 24 hours in a day, and you only have what you have, effort wise, brain wise, physicality wise. For you to allocate that effort towards crap you can't control is like a missed opportunity. It's zero sum. Whatever time and effort you spend in the day, you don't get that back. And if you're not spending it on yourself or your community or the things you can actually reasonably influence, you're actually letting those things atrophy in lieu of things you have no impact on anyway. Does it make sense?
100%. Yes. And I think together we just told the world to get out of their own way and start cleaning up your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Start there and
Exactly.
then move out. Let it spread. And that's outstanding.
Yeah.
One last question from the audience here, and then we'll start our closeout. This is from at DD Runs. You succeeded in swimming, triathlon, academics, and leadership. What personal habit or mindset has been most critical across all these arenas? Thank you, Didi.
Thanks, Dee Dee. And I presume you're a runner, so which I have an appreciation for. I'm going to go for a run here in a little bit, but I think growth mindset. And we talked about this a little bit in the beginning. And I think there's a couple different elements to it. I'm kind of into Zen Buddhism, and there's this idea called the beginner's mind, Shaoshen, in Zen Buddhism. And the metaphor to use is when you're encountering a new situation, if you come into that, just imagine you're a cup. And if you come into that experience with a full cup, you can't put anything more in your cup. But if you come into that situation with an empty cup, you can fill your cup with that new experience. That's the idea of beginner's mind. If you come into a new experience thinking you know how everything works and presuming that it's going to be this, that, or the other thing, you're not really open to learning anything from that experience. Zen Buddhists try to be empty at all times to completely be open and learn as much as they possibly can from every new experience, every new interaction, or whatever else. For me, I think that's essential to a growth mindset. Every new opportunity is a new, or every new moment's a new opportunity for you to get a little bit better, to learn something, to make yourself a little bit stronger, a little bit wiser, a little bit more morally grounded, or whatever else. If you fill up your cup and think that you know how the world works, you're going to miss all of those new learnings. You're going to miss new developments, new changes, maybe some opportunities to unlearn things that you've learned that are misguiding you or something along those lines. So I think Shaoshan is really critically important in a growth mindset. And then the other aspect of it that I hold dear is Kaizen, the idea of like trying to make myself incrementally better in all dimensions of my being at all times. The way, when I talk about gold medals and stuff like that, you don't just like wake up one day and be a gold medalist. You have to grind. You have to say, hey, this is a thing I want to do, and I'm going to train really hard at it. And if I want to win a gold, then I can't have as many beers as I want in the week, and I have to really eat a particular kind of nutrition, and I have to work out consistently every day for a long period of time and be patient and intense about that long process. But the focus day in, day out is not to be a gold medalist today. It's to be a little bit better than I was yesterday. And if you could commit to those two things, really um, being present and open in every individual moment and trying to use those moments for incremental improvements, I think that's what will enable you to succeed in any dimension, whether that's again in the physical domain, in sports, in the mental domain, trying to learn new and difficult concepts, or in the moral domain, like trying to find ways to be bomb-proof about determining right and wrong and abiding by those things and developing your virtue. I think that growth mindset's critically important, and I hope that's, if nothing else, if you don't take away our ruminations about the Army Navy game, I hope you take away that focus on the growth mindset.
Take the growth mindset over the Army Navy game. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Brad, as we start to close out here, I have two questions left for you. The first one is the easy one. What's the best way for anyone in the Misfit Nation to reach out to you to maybe chat with you like we have tonight on their show, or just pick your brain about mentorship and leadership?
The website's just Brad Snyder, BRADSNYDER.us. There's a contact form on there that goes right to my email, or I'm on LinkedIn or Instagram, any of those ways. If you just Google Brad Snyder USA, there's a variety of ways to get to me. Please do open to any thoughts you guys have or any exchanges you want to have, and looking to expand that network as well. So want to hear what's on your mind too.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. And our last question, this one is not a softball question like the Army Navy before. This one is a little more poignant. What's three things the Misfit Nation, as an audience, as humans, can start doing tomorrow to be better humans?
So let's try to do this as a let's do this as your cup of coffee tomorrow. And if you don't drink coffee, then maybe a cup of tea or a cup of water, whatever you start off the day with. Um, this is going to be like a guided meditation sort of thing. When you take that cup, for me, I take this cup out of the cupboard. And that cup is, when I first come groggy out of my room to the coffee maker, I take that cup out of the cupboard. My cup is empty. Let that be step number one. Step number one is my cup is empty. I'm here. I'm present. My cup is empty and I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to use today as an opportunity to make myself better. I'm going to put away my biases, my presuppositions, my arrogance, my ego, and I'm really going to approach today with an empty cup. Number two, I'm going to pour that coffee in there and I'm going to smell it. I'm going to be present. Nothing's going to be in my world right now except for that coffee. This is delight. I love this. Coffee, I love coffee. It makes me so happy. And if you're just 100% present, the only thing in your world for that moment in time, that one little moment when you first pour that coffee in there and you take that sip of coffee and you're like, man, that's amazing. That's gratitude. That's step number two. Be grateful for the life that you have and find the joy in these kind of basic experiences. Life gets challenging, life gets tough. We lose friends, we go blind, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. But at the end of the day, we're alive. And there's a lot of magic in our lives every day. And if you don't take a moment to appreciate that and be grateful for it, it's going to slip you by. You're going to miss it. So tomorrow morning, start with an empty cup, fill it with your coffee, really be present as you enjoy that coffee and be grateful for the amazing life that you have. And then commit, now that you've oriented on gratitude and that you've got an open mind and open heart, commit to use that day to make the most of everything that you have left. So these are your 3 steps: open cup, orient on gratitude, and then make the most of the day. Seize the day. Does that work?
Yes, sir. I'll just make sure I type it right.
However you type it, it'll work out.
There he goes. I filled it up. Brad, this was awesome. I'm glad that we were able to connect and make this the 600th episode. This is amazing.
Six.
On 6, there's on 6. Josh, I
There you
hope
go.
you're proud.
Thank you,
I hope you're happy. Cohort 7 is happy that me and Josh got together and we can do these things. But Brad, thank you again for all you've done through your service and through what you're doing now, your servant leadership now, leading cadets now, and midshipmen, and making sure they are focusing on the future and being the next leaders of our great country.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Outstanding. Misfit Nation, as we close out the 600th episode, remember, a day tomorrow with you is 100% better than one without you. If the clouds are coming in, the darkness is coming in, stop yourself, take a breath, and say, who does care about me? Reach in that wallet, take out that 1-inch piece of paper. There's 3 names on that paper. I've been telling you to do this. Put 3 names on that paper that you need to reach out to. Call them. Call each one of them. They will answer. They will talk to you because they don't want to lose you either. They may not talk to you for months, years, weeks, whatever, but they want to talk to you. They want to be able to reach back and say, hey, what's up, brother? If that doesn't work, dial 988. Follow the prompts. If you don't want to do that, contact us. info@themisfitnation.com, jake@themisfitnation.com, or steven@themisfitnation.com. Get the help you need. We'll keep you on the line until we get someone local to you to come to your house and talk to you, sit with you, have a coffee with you, and just talk to you until you come off that fence. We need you tomorrow. Thank you for everything you do for us at the Misfit Nation, and we'll check you out in season 6.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are